Well, we're back from our trip to British Columbia finally, and after over 10,000 kilometers of mountain driving in the rain, snow, mud, needless to say, we've got some detailing to do. I didn't clean this the entire month that we were gone, and we went off-roading a few times, and again, drove in all kinds of different conditions, so it's pretty dirty, inside and out. We've essentially been living out of this vehicle for the past month. And we drove from Ontario to British Columbia and spent basically the whole month of September on the road. So as you can see, the comparison between the back wheels just have some dirt on them, and these front ones, we got a lot of brake dust on here. Hopefully it's not baked on permanently, but it's gonna come off, luckily. So yeah, we got a lot of cleaning to do. I figured it'd be fun to give you guys kind of a rundown on my latest go-to detailing products that I use. I'm just going to kind of set up the camera and you guys can watch how some of these are used and what my favorites are. I'll make sure to link them down below in the description for you guys if you want to try and find them. But yeah, this is the starting point of a very, very dirty 4runner. The only time it got washed was when we spent some time on the highway in the pouring rain after getting covered in mud. So overall, I have to say it's really not too bad. The rain did help get the majority of the dirt and grime off, but it definitely doesn't look the way it normally looks. So I guess just sit back and let me do the work, and we'll be rewarded with a nice shiny 4runner afterwards. And as usual, if you guys have any questions or anything, make sure to put them down in the comments. If you're wondering about what product I'm using for something, or how to use something, or anything else, I always try to get in there and answer whatever you guys are asking me about. You can also DM me on Instagram too. I try my best to stay on top of that kind of stuff. So my favorite soap is still Lithium Double Tap. This is what I've been using most of the time. And I'm just a really big fan of its slickness, and I like the fact that it helps to hydrate the paint instead of drying it out. I find, just since I've been using it, that their claims about it leaving less residue behind are true. And I tested that in another video to see what it was like washing a vehicle in direct sunlight, and so I've been impressed with that. Now, the one thing that you'll notice, though, is that I don't use it in my foam cannon, and there's a reason for that. The essential oils that they have formulated it with, they're great for everything else, but they don't leave very good foam behind in a foam cannon, because I guess the oils are a little bit too heavy, so the suds just fall right off the vehicle right away. It doesn't create like a thick shaving cream kind of a foam. And so I stick with Meguiar's Gold class for that. The other reason is that the foam cannon uses a lot of soap, and it's a lot of money down the drain, quite literally, to use like a premium soap for the foam cannon. In my experience, and as you'll see, a cheaper soap like Meguiar's Gold class that you can get at any parts store, oftentimes on sale, and with my pressure washer setup, it creates a really great foam for washing the vehicle. So I'm starting off with the wheels and tires as usual, and now keep in mind, these method wheels, I ceramic coated them with Gtechniq C5 quite a while ago, and so during normal washes, I just use regular car soap in a bucket to wash them. I don't use any kind of wheel cleaners or anything. But in this case, because I have a month of mountain driving brake dust baked onto these wheels to the point where they're turning purple, I thought I need something stronger to cut into that stuff. So I'm using Grio's Garage wheel cleaner. And this is a non-acidic cleaner, so I feel like it's safe enough on the coating. It shouldn't diminish it too badly. I mean, that's the reason why I only use soap on these wheels normally, because I don't want to wear out the coating with a heavy-duty cleaner. But in this case, that brake dust is really, really baked on there, and I needed all the help I could get without going to like a really harsh cleaner, like an acidic-based one. So I'm still using just a bucket of soapy water, but I'm spraying that wheel cleaner on first, letting it sit for a little bit, and let it break down all that caked-on brake dust before I start scrubbing and agitating it. I'm still using the same wheel brushes that I always use. I use the skinnier one to get between the spokes, and also to clean as much of the inner barrel as I can. It's kind of hard to squeeze past the brake calipers in some spots to get at it, but I always try to stay on top of that every couple of washes. To be honest, I don't do it every single time. Sometimes I just wash the face of the wheels real quick, but I try to get right in there with that skinnier brush. And then I use the larger one just to get at more of the face of the wheel and around the beadlock bolts. I know they're not real beadlocks, whatever. It's okay. But I use that brush to get in there. And then I'm sure there's more modern ways of doing this, but I keep coming back to just grabbing an old wash mitt, throwing it in my hand and scrubbing around at everything I can reach in the wheel. And that's always been the most efficient way for me to clean these kinds of wheels. I know there's a million different brushes on the market. I've tried a lot of them, and for some reason I like the feeling of having contact with the wheel. You'll see me going back and spraying the wheel cleaner on again, partly because I am kind of out in the daylight and I don't want that drying on the surface. I want to keep it wet, but also these wheels were just that dirty that I needed more cleaner just to keep on scrubbing. And you'll very rarely see me do that. So that's a testament to how neglected this 4runner was after our trip. I always give the inner fenders a quick scrub too, just to stay on top of them. Again, on a vehicle like this, you're not going to get them perfectly clean and have them stay that way. This has off-road tires that are shooting dirt and grime up in there on a regular basis, so I just try to stay on top of it so it doesn't get too bad, but it's definitely not show quality most of the time. Now you'll see me using the Simonized tire cleaner, and you might remember this from the video that I worked on the Tacoma, using the full Simonized lineup of products. That was a sponsored video, and this is not. So this is a testament to me actually liking this product, me really using this in the real world. Nobody's paying me to use it this time. I just really like it. You can see how it breaks down all of the grime off the tire. You can see the brown just melting away and running off in the water. I haven't found any other cleaner that works as efficiently as this Simonized stuff does. Normally I'll scrub it with an all-purpose cleaner or even Meguiar's Super Degreaser or something like that. But this tire-specific cleaner, I'm not sure how it's made or what's in it, but it does a really good job of that. And if you're Canadian and you got access to a Canadian tire, this stuff is awesome. Should be pretty easy to find too. Now for the part that people walking past seem to think I'm a lunatic for. Yeah, I open the doors and spray inside my 4runner. But, okay, hear me out here. The angle that you hold your pressure washer and your technique here changes everything. And as you can see, there's not much water actually getting inside the vehicle into the interior. I'm angling it in a way that it's deflecting off of the door jamb, but they're just so dirty they needed to be washed properly. Alright, it's finally time to get all this grime off of this poor 4runner. And this is where I'm using the Meguiar's Gold Class and the foam cannon. And you can see the foam that this is creating. I just see no need to spend the money on a premium soap for a foam cannon when this stuff works so well. It's super thick, it really clings to the surface well. Again, if you're familiar with my videos, you know that I'm not a huge fan of foam cannons and thinking that they're going to get your vehicle cleaner or anything. I use this strictly just for extra lubrication to avoid scratching when I'm cleaning it. And in this case specifically, this thing is so dirty and there's so much grime on the paint surface that I want to do everything I can to minimize having to rub it across the paint and scratch it all up, because underneath all this grime, this 4runner is still in really nice shape. It's still really glossy, really shiny. This is ceramic coated with Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light and then a layer of EXO over top. And I want to try and maintain that as much as possible. So even when it's dirty and gross looking, it's still worth saving. So every step that I take is important. And that's why you see me using the foam cannon on this. Plus, I mean, let's be honest, it looks cool on video. And you guys are here to see a soapy 4runner, right? So everybody wins. Fun fact, even at 6'3", as you can see, I still need to use a ladder to be able to reach the roof of this 4runner. So I know it's not lifted very tall, and in pictures and video it probably doesn't look very big, but it kind of gives you an idea of this is definitely not blending in with all the crossovers in the parking lot. Even just a mildly lifted 4runner like this one is a pretty beefy rig. I'm going through and using the typical 2-bucket wash method here. And again, in other videos you've seen me use optimum no rinse, just to use a rinseless wash. That I always rinse it off first with the pressure washer no matter what I use. And then based on the situation, depending on how dirty the vehicle is or the conditions that I'm working in, if it's a really hot sunny day, I tend to go with a rinseless wash just because I don't have to worry about residue baking on the surface and stuff. But in this case, when the vehicle is really, really dirty, I just feel like there's no replacement for a typical 2-bucket wash. Lots of soap, lots of water, lots of suds. It just seems like the safest way to wash the vehicle to me. You'll also see, and I'm not sure if this is kind of a conflicting opinion with other people, other detailers out there, but I know that the common knowledge is that you're supposed to work from the top down when you're washing a vehicle, right? But I see so many people starting from the top down and doing a full panel and then moving over and starting from the top down on the next panel. And to me, that defeats the purpose. The whole idea is the top of the vehicle is less dirty than the bottom. So I tend to start at the top and spiral my way around the vehicle and work my way down, because I don't want to wash the bottom of the rear bumper where the tire has been kicking up dirt and grime and mud at it, and then reach over to the top of the hood and wash that where the sun is going to reveal all the scratches and swirl marks I could potentially be putting in there. To me, that's like what I would consider a high risk area for washing, where if you put a scratch in there, you're going to see it every time you walk up to your vehicle. Whereas if you put a scratch in the bottom of your door, unless you've got a work light on the ground pointing up at your vehicle, you're never going to see that. So my version of washing from the top down is more of a spiral, where I do the entire top all the way around, and then I do the entire middle all the way around, and then I finally save those really dirty areas for the very end. Once I'm done the really dirty parts of the vehicle, I'm done washing it, and that wash mitt is going in the laundry, getting washed for the next use. It's never touching the higher areas of the vehicle again. So I'm not sure how you guys feel about that. Feel free to comment below. To me, it makes sense. I'm interested to hear what other people's perspective is. If you think I'm wrong, you think I'm paranoid, let me know. Now it's time for the final rinse, and switch up the camera angle for you guys here. I'm getting sick of the same videos and the same driveway. I thought it'd be a little bit more interesting to see from over here. Anyways, just a final rinse, and if you're wondering my pressure washer setup here, this is just a very basic Karcher pressure washer that you can, I think I bought this one on Amazon. You can get it like at your local store, Home Depot, whatever. I'm not sure who carries that line around here. Not a fancy pressure washer at all, but the trick here for me is I bought the upgrade kit from Obsessed Garage, and Matt goes through and, as he would say, he dials in the exact specifications, the nozzle, the wand, the foam cannon, the hose, all of that stuff. He's gone through and tested like every possible option, and he has decided on this being the best setup to upgrade this exact pressure washer. So I bought the pressure washer. I found it on sale, I think on Amazon. I didn't buy it from him. Sorry, Matt. But I bought the upgrade kit from him, and man, it converts a run-of-the-mill pressure washer into, it's just like going to a coin-op car wash with a really nice spray pattern, really high-quality stuff. The gun is really high quality in your hand. It just feels really well-built and robust. And as you can see, like it does an awesome job of rinsing vehicles. Lots of pressure. No need for a big fancy gas-powered pressure washer, that's for sure. And honestly, I don't see any need for a fancy electric one either. Some of these Krenzla ones that everybody's upgrading to. After using this setup for, I think, well over a year now, I see no reason to be spending $1,000 on a pressure washer. I think this, all said and done, I think it came in at around $400 or $500, and I'm completely happy with it. Now check this out. I'm testing out the condition of the ceramic coating here. And again, this is Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light with EXO on top. And the water behavior is pretty good. Keeping in mind that different soaps are going to leave a bit of a residue behind, and that's usually on purpose because the manufacturers don't want water spots to be sticking behind, and they want the water to sheet off instead of be beading off. So some of that is by design, but I'm still pretty happy with how this is holding up. So since the coating seems to be in pretty good shape still, I can't remember how long it's been since I've polished and coated this thing the last time. I think it's been probably 2 years or so. And it's holding up pretty good still, especially despite the month-long abuse that we just put this poor thing through. So since the coating is still in pretty decent shape, I'm going to do my best to keep topping it up and keep maintaining it. And in this case, I'm using lithium ignite after wash. Just while I'm drying it off, I'll spray 1 or 2 shots on a panel depending on the size of it, and maybe a shot into my towel, and then I dry it off and work around the whole vehicle like that. And this stuff works really well to it also doubles kind of like as a detail spray. It helps you to get rid of any leftover streaks and water spots. It just makes it safer to dry the vehicle, because believe it or not, even after it's clean, the drying process is high risk for scratching too. And on a vehicle like this that it's kind of already got the odds stacked up against it, it sits outside, it gets used like a lifted SUV, I gotta do everything I can to keep it from getting scratched up. And when you're drying a vehicle, just putting a dry towel on a panel and wiping it across, there's still a chance of scratching it. And using a detail spray or a drying aid like this one, it just helps to add some slickness to the surface while you're wiping your drying towel across it. But it's SiO2 based, so it's going to build a little bit of protection on top of your coating again, just to get you to that next wash. So every time you're washing a vehicle, you're diminishing your wax or sealant or ceramic coating, whatever it is you have on there. You're kind of scrubbing a little bit of that off, and it's probably microscopic, but technically still you are. And so in this case, it just makes me feel a little bit better that I'm helping to build it back up then when I'm done. I'm not just constantly diminishing it. And it just makes the drying process so much easier. Now for the finishing touches. I got to put some dressing on the tires. I don't do this every wash because I'm not really a super shiny tire kind of guy. But especially when I'm looking for a drastic difference in the before and after, like this thing was so neglected. I wanted nice dark black tires just to finish off the look. And so I still use Poor Boy's Bold and Bright. It's like a water-based tire gel. It's thicker than like a regular spray-on dressing. And I find it clings to the tire a little bit better and it lasts a little bit longer. And I use it 2 different ways still. If you've seen my older video about how I dress off-road tires, I dilute it a little bit and put it in a spray bottle, and then I'll spray the big tread lugs and scrub them with a brush to get it in. And then I switch over to a typical like a sponge applicator to do like the smooth part of the sidewall. That's still my go-to method. It still works well for me. It's a great way to get nice even coverage and without having to use more of like a silicone based, like a spray-on or aerosol spray. That would be a lot easier, but I'm not a fan of using that kind of stuff on my tires. The only downside is it does take some time. So here's the end result. The old girl is looking a lot better than it did in the month of September, that's for sure. You can see the paint still nice and deep gloss, nice shine, very reflective still. If I put an inspection light on this, is there going to be swirl marks and scratches? Absolutely. This thing is living in the real world, guys. So this thing gets used. I use it for my daily driver. I drive it in the wintertime. I drive it in all conditions. It's parked outside year round. It does not get parked in a garage. I take it off-road, take it mountain biking. In this case, towed a trailer with it across the country. So it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to look like a show vehicle. My main thing is I want to walk out to the parking lot and have this thing look nicer and shinier than a brand new 4runner sitting right beside it. That's kind of my source of pride. And to me, that's what motivates me to take detailing so seriously on my own personal vehicles. But as you can see, with, I guess now, close to 250,000 kilometers on the clock, the old girl's still looking good. And I'm really happy with how it came up. I'm glad that I didn't find much damage on this. Aside from a couple chips in the windshield, it's holding up great. Moving on to the interior, and I like to think that I normally keep the interior of my vehicles pretty clean all the time. I just don't really let them get dirty in the first place, which I know makes for some kind of boring detailing videos on this channel, but in this case, we were living out of this thing for a month, and we're still fairly clean people. We try not to let it get built up too much, or we would clean up after a spill, or, but the truth is we were logging some serious miles on the road. We were eating in the vehicle. I know I don't normally let people eat in my vehicle, but come on, these are desperate times. So there's crumbs everywhere, and you know how it is. So we just got to give it a quick kind of a vacuum and wipe down. I'm still using my same old trusty rigid vacuum. I love this thing. I bought this years ago. I upgraded the hose to like I think they call it the professional grade hose or whatever, just so it's a little bit more robust and easier to manage. and I still use it to this day. This is my go-to vacuum. I love this thing. If this thing broke down on me, I would probably buy the exact same one all over again. But the majority of the cleaning here is just vacuuming the carpets, just because, you know, we had some dirty boots and, again, lots of food crumbs and stuff. I've got a fabric guard from Gtechniq on this carpet that I applied a long time ago, and honestly, I'm not sure how much of it is still hanging around. But I think it's still helping to offer some protection and not let things just seep right into the fibers of the carpet. But this reminds me, I should probably top that up. Now, before I use any other cleaners on the seats and the vinyl and stuff, I'm using Optimum No Rinse in a spray bottle just on my Pioneer head unit for the touchscreen. And you want to be careful what cleaning products you use on something like that, because it can cause trouble with like the touchscreen capabilities and stuff, and it's just smudges that we're getting rid of, so I just use no rinse. Any rinseless wash is fine. It won't leave a film behind on there, so it's still going to work fine. But I'm getting that out of the way because I know I'm going to forget. I'm doing that first, and then I'm using my other cleaners for everything else. I'm switching over now to Hyper Cleanse from Lithium here. This is it's an all-purpose cleaner, but it's more like interior specific. And the reason I like using this is because it doesn't leave a residue behind. And I've always preached that you can just use any typical all-purpose cleaner and dilute it down like 10-to-1 or something on your interior, and it works fine, and it is safe to use. But in my experience, it will tend to leave a bit of a residue behind, kind of like a white stain sometimes even. And in this case, I want to just, if there's a stain or something behind or residue, I would just follow it up with a damp towel and wipe it down. But I didn't really have time. I wanted just a one-step solution here, and it works great for that. So as you can see, I'm scrubbing off some greasy marks from somebody's stinky feet that they had on the dash while we were driving. And it doesn't really show up on camera. I did a bit of a before and after here, but it made real quick work of that. I didn't have to use any kind of aggressive scrub pads or anything to get that kind of oil and dead skin and grease off. But it works really good. It's easy to use, and it's just like using an all-purpose cleaner. Just the only difference here is that it doesn't really leave a residue behind. Another one of my little secret weapons I still like using is probably the only product from the chemical guys that I like using is just their leather scent. It's like a new car spray. The leather flavor just makes everything smell like fresh leather. Now I'm using another new product from Lithium called Slather Bio Cleanse, and this is supposed to be like an all-in-one leather cleaner and conditioner. And normally I'm not a fan of these kinds of products. I like to keep those two separate because I find most of them do kind of like a half job of both jobs instead of having like an individual cleaner and then a protection step afterwards. But again, in this case, I'm kind of hurting for time. Seats weren't super dirty. So I gave it a shot. It worked good. I still am not convinced that I'm going to just switch to an all-in-one kind of a cleaner though. But I'm going to keep on testing this and see if I like it. So far, so good. But to be honest, didn't really love it, didn't really hate it so far. So I think further testing required here. Nothing bad to say about it so far, but it's more of a personal preference thing. On these light-colored leather seats, though, it's important to have some kind of protection on them all the time to keep any kind of dye transfer from dark jeans and stuff at a minimum. Next up, another new product from Lithium. This is called The Balm, and I'm a little confused here. They sent me this to try out. It's kind of weird. It's like it feels like you're applying a carnauba wax to your interior panels, like your vinyl and stuff. It seemed to work okay. It's just a kind of a strange application, and I'm even more confused by the fact that I don't think it's on their website anymore. So I'm not sure if this was something that they tried out and have already discontinued, or if it's something that they're working on formulating again to perfect. I don't have anything against it. It seemed to work okay, but I don't know, just a little strange experience, I have to say. But now we got the interior back to looking the way it normally does. Again, like the rest of the truck, not perfect by any means. We got some rips and tears in the driver's seat. There's some stains in the carpet that aren't coming out anytime soon. This thing, it gets used, you know, so it doesn't look like we've lived out of it for a month anymore. That's all I'm looking for. So anyways, that's going to about do it for this one. The 4runner is back to looking her normal self. So thank you for watching. Thank you for following along with these videos. And also, guys, I don't know if you noticed, but thank you for 10,000 subscribers. I don't know why so many of you like watching my crappy videos, but I'm very grateful that you guys are clicking that subscribe button. If you haven't, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You should do that now. And also follow along on Instagram if you want to. Lately I've been taking that platform a lot more seriously and trying to post more often and just posting interesting content, whether it's like cool 4runners that I see for sale or just fun little tips here and there, or even just some old pictures that I find on an old hard drive. So make sure to follow me there as well. But thank you for watching, guys. We're going to keep on going with this channel. If you guys are liking my crappy videos, I'm going to keep making them. Hopefully they'll slowly get less crappy as I learn what I'm doing. But thanks for the support, guys, and let's keep on going.